Hello and welcome to Mr. Taufik's Maths and Economics channel. This channel was created to help you achieve excellence in your maths and economics exams. I'm very excited to be here today, and in this video we will be going through the Lagos State BECE Maths past questions. Now, before we get into solving and all of that, I would like to make a few things clear. Number one, you need to know that the Lagos State BECE Maths will be testing you on four major themes, four major parts of the syllabus. Now, the first one is numbers and numeration, where you look at percentages, fractions, and so on and so forth. The second one is going to be on algebraic processes, basically algebra, where you have like simultaneous equation, linear equation, quadratic, inequalities, and so on and so forth. The third one is going to be on geometry and mensuration. We'll talk about angles, we'll talk about plane shapes, solid shapes, and everything around that. And lastly, which is the fourth one, is going to be everyday statistics. When we talk about statistics, mean, mode, and median. We're going to get to that, don't worry. I'm going to sing the poem to you all. Statistics, mean, mode, and median. All right, so those are the four key areas that you will be tested on. And now, how are we going to go about this? So every video is going to be released based on these themes. For now, we're focusing on numbers and numeration, okay? And in today's video, we will be going through fractions, percentages, and decimals. Are you ready? So what do you need? You need your pen, you need your exercise book, and your willingness to learn and pass your exam excellently. Now, there will be 5 questions that we're going to solve together, okay? We're going to have 3 multiple choice questions, which is OBJ, and then 2 structured questions, which is the two theory questions. Now, where it gets really interesting is that at the end of the video, you will have your set of 5 questions to do. So 3 multiple choice questions and then 2 theory questions for you to do. But that's not even the most interesting. Now, the most wonderful aspect of everything I'm doing so far is that your answers will be marked by Mr. Taufik. As long as you are amongst the first 5 students to submit their answer in the comment section of this video, all you have to do is in the comment section just go type your answers out, like number 1 my answer was this, number 2 my answer was that, and then in the theory I got this, I got that. Okay, that is going to be about the questions assigned to you as your own assignment to do. Okay, if you're among the top 5, you will be marked by Mr. Taufik. Wow. So what if you're not among the top 5? Well, nothing bad. You just have to type your answers. Still, I would love to see your answers, but then you now check you check the results of the other people that I have personally marked, and then you can see how you have performed, and you can also type your score. Without wasting time, let's dive in. So are you ready to do some math? Are you ready? Can I hear you say I am ready? Okay, perfect. All right, let's dive into solving the question. Question number 1. So the question says, by the way, this question is from the BECE 2022. So what does the question say? The question says, what is the percentage increase of 240 to 400? Okay, so the point here is percentage increase. Now, there's a formula that you need to use that makes this calculation easy and fast. So the formula is anytime you're told to work out percentage increase, or it could be percentage decrease, or it could even be percentage change. All these basically mean the same thing, right? The formula is very simple. All you have to do is the difference divided by the original value, okay, times 100 out of 1. So the question you need to ask yourself is, what is the original value? So this is the original value because it's increasing from 240 to 400. So the original value is 240. So first, to get the difference, and the difference is very simple. The bigger number, take away what? The smaller number. It doesn't matter if the bigger number is the new or the old, or the bigger number is the new value or the small value. It doesn't really matter. Just do the big value minus the small value. That is the difference. Whether you're calculating percentage change, percentage increase, or percentage decrease, it's all the same. The difference is the big minus the small. But the denominator is very important to make sure that you're saying what divided by the original. So in this case, our original value is 240. And then you multiply that by 100 out of 1, right? So to continue our calculation, 400 minus 200 is basically 160. And divided by the denominator, which is 240, don't forget your times 100 out of 1. By the way, you should be able to do this mentally, but if you can't, 400 take away 240 is just what? 0 minus 0 is 0. 0 minus 4 impossible, so we have to take away 1 from 4. That remains 3, and then we'll put the 1 on top of the 0. 10 minus 4 is 6. We have 3 left here in the 100 place value, so 3 minus 2 gives you 1, and then we have 160 divided by 240 times 100 out of 1. Again, you're not expected to use your calculation for your calculator in BECE exam, so all you can do is just find ways to reduce the numbers. That makes your calculation a lot easier. So from what we can see, the 0 in this denominator can cancel the 0 in that numerator, and then we'll be left with 16 out of 24 times 100 out of 1. Also, look at the numbers. Can I reduce them? 16 and 24 are both multiples of 8 because 8 times 2 is 16. So if I divide 16 by 8, I should get 2. 24. 8 times 3 is 24. So if I divide 24 by 8, I should get 3. So therefore, we'll be left with 2 out of 3 times 100 out of 1. So 2 times 100 is 200 divided by the denominator. 3 times 1, that's just 3. Now, if you look at the options, so this is in percentage already because multiplying by 100 means you're changing it to percentage. If you look at the options, we don't have this kind of answer. So that means you might just have to quickly do some further simplification. For example, this is a mixed fraction because the numerator is bigger than the denominator. So you can think of converting that to what? To a mixed number and see if that appears in the option. So let's do our division very quickly. So what we can do, we can see how many times 3 can divide 200. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. 3 in 2 is not possible, so we're going to do 3 in 20. How many 3 goes into 20? 3 times 6 is 18. So that means 3 can divide 26 times, or 3 can go in 26 times with a remainder of 2, because 3 times 6 is 18, and then you're going to 20. So 20 minus 18, that's 2. So you have a remainder of 2, and then you put that up there close to the next digit, which is the 0. So these 2 up there and this 0 now makes another digit, which is 20. And then you do the same 3 divided by 20. So the same 3 divided by 20 again is the same thing. We're going to have 6. So that's 66, and then this is cancelled out, so we are left with a remainder of 2. Now, because we don't have any digit left in the 200, that means we've actually exhausted all the numbers, okay? So the remainder is 2 divided by the denominator, which is 3, and that is 66. Whole number, 2/3%, and that is option D. So that's how to answer percentage change, whether increase or decrease question, and then you'll be good to go in the exam. Just remember the formula: difference divided by the original value times 100 out of 1. The difference is just the bigger number minus the smaller number in any form that it might have come. Now that's the first question on fractions, decimals, and percentages. Let's go to question number 2. This is from BECE 2023. The question says that if 0.075 is expressed as a fraction in its simplest form, you have to keep that in mind. What is the denominator? So the first thing we have to do is this decimal. How do we write it? As a fraction. So write decimals as fraction is very easy. The first thing you have to do is look at the number in the numerator. In the numerator, the very first non-zero digit is 7. So starting from the left, the first non-zero digit is 7. So you start to write a number from there. Our numerator is just going to be 75. Okay? 75. And then what will be the denominator? The denominator is very simple. It's always, in terms of, excuse me, the denominator is always in multiples of 10. 10, 100, 1000, 10,000, and so on. But how do you determine which one exactly? Well, you just have to look at the decimal point. So in this question, we have 0.075. So after these decimal points, how many digits do we have there? 3 digits. So that means the denominator, we have 3 zeros. And that means the perfect denominator will be 1000, because 1000 is a multiple of 10 that has what? 3 zeros. So now that we have this settled, then we can go on and finish the question. So what you have to do now is reduce to the lowest term. So again, we have to employ our division skills and multiplication skills. So 75, I know a lot of you will be tempted to start with 25, but to start with 5 rather, to start dividing by 5, but that's not the fastest way to go. This is BECE. You need to be able to see patterns very quickly and to be able to solve this question accurately in less amounts of time. That's going to help you with finishing the questions. Question. So this one now, 75 and 100. We know for sure that 75 is going to be a multiple of 25. 25, 50, 75, and so on like that. So 100, definitely, 1000 definitely is also a multiple of what? Of 25. How many 25 goes in 75? Obviously 3. How do we know that? If you write 25 times 2, that becomes 50. Add another 25, which is times 3, that becomes 75. Another 3, add another 25, which is times 4, that becomes 100, and so on and so forth, right? So if that's the case, that means how many 25 goes in 75? You have to add 25 to yourself 3 times, right? To get 75. Okay, so that's our 75. So that means that will be 3. And then the denominator, we can just look at 100. How many 25 goes in 100? That is 4. So therefore, this fraction becomes 3 divided by this 4. And then don't forget this 0. So that's 40. Okay, so the question is now asking about the denominator. What will be the denominator? The denominator is 40, as we can see here. So therefore, our option is option A. You can see, BECE question, very, very easy. The very, very last question of the multiple choice question. The question here says that arrange the following fractions in ascending order: 1/3, 3/10, 2/5, and 1 out of 4. This is adapted from the BECE 2023. Now, this question, there are quite a lot of misconceptions. Some students tend to look at the numerator, like the bigger the numerator, the bigger the number. Well, if all the denominators were the same, then the bigger the numerator, the bigger the number, right? But now we have different denominators, okay? So what are we supposed to do? Well, very, very simple. What you're meant to do is, first, you look at all the numbers, you look at all the denominators, okay? Step number 1 is look at all the denominators. We have 3, we have 10, we have 5, and then we have 4. Now, step 2 is to find the LCM of the denominators, okay? You find the LCM of the denominators. So what is the LCM of 3, 10, 5, 4? So I know this is something you can try to do mentally. And if I'm looking at these numbers mentally, they would have the lowest common multiple should be 30 no, 40 no, 50 no. I'm looking at 60, right? I'm looking at 60. But let us do it together. Okay, so we have our way of working out lowest common multiple, yeah? So we've got 3, we've got 4, we've got 5, and we've got 10. So to get the lowest common multiple, you start with the lowest prime number that can go in any of these numbers. So 2 is the lowest prime number that can go. Let me use another color for that. So 2 is the lowest prime number that can go here. So divide everything by 2. What do you have? 3 stays the same. This becomes 2. 5 stays the same, and this becomes 5. Again, another lowest prime number that can divide all of this is 2. What any of this number is 2. So that gives us 3, 1, 5, and then 5. Then the next one is 3. 3 is the next lowest, smallest prime number that can divide any of these numbers. So we have, let's extend our line a little bit. So 3 in 3, that's 1. This remains 1. 3 in 5, not possible and not possible. And lastly, divide everything by 5. 5 is the next prime number that can divide any of this number. 1, 1, 1, 1. And we all know that once you get to this point, we are good to go. So all you have to do now, we multiply, right? So we do 5 times 3, which is 15. 15 times 2, 30. 30 times 2. And that gives us what? That gives us 60. So I was right. Okay. So now that we know that, how do we now know which one is the biggest and which one is the smallest? There are quite a lot of methods, okay? But the one I think I found very easy for you is, multiplying every fraction by the LCM. So multiply the fractions by the LCM. So what does that mean? 1 over 3 times the LCM, which is 60. So that gives you what? That gives you 3 here 1, 3 in 60. 3 in 6, that's 2. So the answer is 20. So this on the side is 20, right? The next one, 3 out of 10 times 60. So 10 in, the 0 here cancel the 0 here. 3 times 6, 18. So this one is 18 in size. Then the next one is 2/5 multiplied by 60. That's going to give us, how many 5s goes in 60? So if you know your timetable very well, you know 5 times 12 is 60, right? Or we can say 5 in 6, which is 1, with a remainder of 1, right? And then 5 in 10, that is 2. 2 times 12, that is 24. So this is 24. And lastly, we have 1 out of 4 times 60, and that's going to be 4 here 1. 4 in 60, that should be 15, because 4 in 6 is 1, remainder 2. 4 in 20 is 5. So 1 times 5, that's 15. So this is 15. So we can see clearly, ascending order simply means what? You arrange from the smallest to the biggest. Just like when you're ascending a stairs, right? You're ascending a staircase. You're basically going from the smallest one to the biggest one. Okay, so now let's look at it. So from these numbers now, we can see that 15 is the smallest number. So that means that's going to be 1 over 4, followed by 18, which is represented by 3 over 10, followed by 20, which is represented by 1 over 3. And then lastly is the biggest one, which is 24, and that is represented by 2 out of 5. So therefore, our answer is going to be 1 over 4, 3 over 10, 1 over 3. So our answer is A. The correct option is A. 1 over 4, 3 over 10, 1 over 3, 2 over 5. So that's it for your ascending or arranging fraction in ascending or descending order. So just follow these key steps, okay? Step 1 is write out all the denominators. Step 2, find the LCM of the denominators. Step 3, you multiply the fractions by the LCM. If you can follow all these 3 steps, you always find this question to be easy. All you have to do is make sure you're as fast as possible in the exam. All right, so this is all the 3 questions for the multiple question, but today I have a surprise for you. I have a bonus question that I think is very important for you to be able to do when it comes to the BECE. So a bonus question for you, and this is about a reciprocal, right? So the question says, what is the reciprocal of 0.25? So some of you might not know what that means. Now, if you want to find the reciprocal of a decimal, the first thing you need to do is write the decimal as a fraction, okay? So 0.25 can be written, remember what I said earlier, you just find the first after the decimal point, you write out the number, that will be your numerator, and that's going to be the first non-zero digits. So the first non-zero digit is 2, so everything here will be written out as the numerator, which is 25. Divided by what's going to be our denominator. Our denominator is always a multiple of 10. 10, 100, and so on and so forth. 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million, and so on and so forth. But in this case now, how many digits do we have after the decimal point? We have 2 digits. So that's going to be 2 zeros, and that will be 100. So as we know, 25 can divide 100. This can be reduced to what? 25 is 1. 100 divided by 25 is 4. So we have 1 out of 4. So if we have that, now the question is now asking you for the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 0.25 is just the same thing as the reciprocal of 1 over 4, right? I'm still going to cover in another video how to quickly recognize, fractions and decimals. There are some fractions and decimals that you should be able to easily recognize, and it's going to make your calculation a lot faster. So 0.25, you should know that's a quarter, which is 1 over 4. It's going to help your calculation a lot faster. So 1 over 4 is the fraction. Now, what is now the reciprocal of this? Reciprocal just means you are going to flip the number, meaning the numerator comes to the denominator, and then the numerator goes back to the what? To the denominator, to the numerator. So this is 1 over 4. The reciprocal is just going to be 4 over 1. That's the answer. 4 over 1 is just 4. Okay, and the answer is 4. The options are not here, but this is how to do it. Sometimes they might say the multiplicative inverse. Multiplicative Inverse is some of the terminologies that can be used for these questions. So find the reciprocal, find the multiplicative inverse, they're all the same. Okay, we're done with our multiplication. So now it's time for the theory question on fractions, decimals, and percentages. Are you ready? Because I am so ready and I am so excited to go through this. Well, this one is very simple. Everybody here should know how to do this. This is a question on fraction, addition, subtraction of fractions. So the very first state here is you have to change everything to what? So simplify means you want to get a single fraction at the end of the day, right? So there are so many ways. There are ways you can actually add these fractions as whole numbers. Okay, that's one method, but sometimes students get a little bit confused about that method. Okay, so there's a method where you can just add the whole numbers and add the fractions separately, when there is another method where you have to convert the fractions into improper fractions before you add or subtract. I will do the first one and also do the second one, and you can always choose which one you prefer. So first, let's convert all of these to improper. So 3 multiplied by 4, that is 12, and then you add 1, that gives us what? 13. So that's 13 out of 3. Take away 2 times 3, that's 6, plus 1, that is 7. So 7 out of 2. Add 4 times 2, 8, plus 1, that is 9, divided by 4. So that's it. Then from this point, there's something called the LCM method. You find the LCM of all the numbers. So LCM of 3, 2, and 4 is going to be 12, right? If you follow the other method we did earlier, you find the LCM to be 12. So LCM just means the lowest common multiple. So if you want to do the working out process, we have 2, 3, and 4. So divide by 2, will give us 1, 3, 2, divide by 2, 1, 3, 1, divide by 3, 1, 1, 1. So 3 times 2, 6, 6 times 2, 12. So the LCM is 12. Right? So there are numerous ways. One way is now to, like, my favorite method is just to think about it as though, this LCM is 12. I have to change all these fractions, all of them. I have to change their denominators. Okay? I have to change it to 12. So to do that, you basically just multiply all these fractions by a number that makes the denominator 12. So 13 divided by 3. To make this denominator 12, I have to multiply 3 by 4. And you do the same to the numerator. Okay? So the denominator becomes 12. And then 13 times 4, we can do the calculation somewhere. So 13 times 4, 4 times 3, 12. 4 times 1, okay, let me make it a bigger. So 13 times 4, 4 times 3, 12. You have 1 carried there, and 4 times 1 is 4 plus 1, that's 5. So that's 52. This becomes 52. The next fraction, which is 7 over 2, what do we multiply by the denominator to make the denominator the LCM, which is 12? 2 times 6 gives us 12. You do the same thing to the numerator. So the denominator becomes 12. The numerator, 7 times 6, that should be 42, right? And finally, the last fraction, which is 9 over 4. So 9 over 4, what do we multiply by the denominator to get 12? That will be 3. And I do the same to the numerator, and that becomes what? 27 out of 12. So now, these 3 fractions that I have here now, these 3 fractions that I have here, can now be written as, these 3 fractions, I've been able to convert each of them to a denominator of 12. So because of that, I can easily now rewrite it as, so 13 over 3 becomes what? 52 out of 2. Take away 7 over 2 becomes what? 42 out of 12, plus 9 over 4, which becomes 27 out of 12. You know, in fraction, once all your denominators are the same, then you can basically just what? Pick one denominator and add what? All the numerators together. So we're going to come to the other side here. We're going to have a denominator, which is what? Which is 12. The same for all of them. Then you just write out your numerator, 52 minus 42 plus 27. Okay, so what is 52 minus 42? This is going to be 2 minus 2, 0. 5 minus 4, that's 1. And then we add 27. So that will be 7. 0 plus 7 is 7. 1 plus 2 is 3. 37. So our answer is 37 out of 12. Sometimes, because it's a simplified question, it's better, advisable, it's the best practice to ensure that your answer, if it's an improper fraction, make sure your answer is written as a mixed number. So how many 12 goes in 13? So 12 times 1, 12, times 2, 24, times 3, 36. That is exactly 3. Remainder 1, because 12 times 3 is 36. 37 minus 36 is 1. So we have 3 O's and then 1 12. So that's the answer to the question. Okay. So that's one method. Okay. Another method that I would like to show you, I'll call that method 2. And then you can pick whichever one you feel very comfortable with. Remember, we're trying to ensure that you achieve excellence in your BECE exam, right? So our method 2 is going to be, you see the fractions, which is 4 O's 1 3 minus 3 O's 1 2 plus 2 O's 1 4. What we do is that the numerators will be taken care of first. We focus on the numerator, 4 minus 3
plus 2. That's the first thing you do. So 4 minus 3 is 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. So you have your 3 whole number, right? Then you now focus on the what? On the fraction. So plus 1 over 3, which is the first proper fraction. Take away the next proper fraction, which is 1 over 2. Then plus, and this is take away, right? This is plus, and then 1 over 4. The first plus here, as you can see, the first one here is always going to be plus, okay? Is always going to be plus. The first proper fraction attached to the whole number is always going to be plus, okay? So now what you have to just do now is to what? Add and subtract this. So at the end of the day, you still have to do what? You still have to do the method we did earlier. So we have 3 plus. So everything, the LCM, 3, 2, and 4, the LCM of that is still going to be 12. So 1 over 3. Okay, we need to convert that to or we can just also use the other method that you know how to do. So we have 1 over 3. To make it the denominator 12, you multiply by 4 and then by 4. So that gives you 4 out of 12. Then 1 over 2. To make the denominator of 12, you multiply it by 6 and numerator by 6. That gives us 6 out of 12. And finally, 1 out of 4. To make it 12, you multiply the denominator by 3. Multiply this by 3. And that becomes 3 out of 12. So therefore, we have 3 plus 1 out of 3 becomes what? 4 out of 12. Minus 1 out of 2 becomes 6 out of 12. Plus 1 out of 4 becomes 3 out of 12, right? So then we have 3 plus 1 denominator, 12. And we have 4, take away 6, add 3. And then we're going to have 3 O's. So I can choose to add the number, I can choose to do the addition first before the subtraction, okay? So 4 plus 3, that gives us 7. And then 7 minus 6, that gives us what? That gives us 1. Or you can also choose to go in the order you've seen it. 4 take away 2, that gives you minus 2. Minus 2 plus 3, that gives you plus 1. But this might be confusing for some students who struggle with directed numbers. And the next video that will be released is going to be on directed numbers. Everything you have to know on simplifying directed numbers for you. So this becomes 1 out of 12. And then the answer is 3 O's, 1 out of 12. Exactly like the answer we got earlier. But some students might prefer method 2. While some might prefer method 1. Whichever you think works best for you, stick to it and use it very well to smash your BECE exam. So that's the theory, which is the question 4. And now we're moving on to the very last question of what? Of these practice, of these exam preparation. Now, this question is a worded question. It says 2/5 of students in the mixed schools are boys. If there are 48 girls in the school, how many are boys? A very simple question. With worded question in maths, one of the first things you want to do is to write out the key information and then think about what you need to do to get the answer. They told us that 2/5 of the students in a school are boys. So 2 over 5 of the students in the school are what? Boys. And then they told us that what? There are 48 girls in that same school, right? How many are boys? How many are boys? Okay. Now, what you need to know is that if this is the fraction for boys, which is 2/5, then the fraction for girls will be the remaining fraction. So 2/5, what is left out of 2/5? So for example, now I have a box. This box here has exactly 12 squares in it, right? So I'm sorry, it has exactly 5 squares in it. So 2/5 means I have 2 parts, 2 shaded parts. So that is 2/5. So what is left is what? 3 shaded parts. So 3 shaded parts, which is this, and this. And that part is what? 3/5. So if the girls in the school are 2/5, then the boys will be what? 3/5, which is 3 over 5. So this is the girls. So to now get the total number of people, let the total number of students be n. So since we have 48 girls in this school, then we know that 3 over 5, which is the fraction of the girls, times the total population of students in the school will equal to the population of the girls, which is 48. Okay? And therefore, this is something that leads us to a fraction. So we have 3 times n, which is 3n, divided by 5, which is equal to 48. At this stage, this is 48 over 1. At this stage, we do a little bit of what? Cross multiplication. All right? And that becomes what? 3n equals to 48 times 5. We're finding n, which is the total number of students in that school. Divide both sides by 3. 3 cancel out 3. So what is n? N is equal to. So you don't need to do the in BECE exam, right? You need to be very smart about your time. So you don't need to multiply this out first before you start to divide. It's going to waste your time. Okay. Rather, just think about it. 3 can go in 48. How many times? 3 here, 1. 3 in 4 is 1. 3 and 18 is 6. So what we have is just 16 times 5. Now, what is 16 times 5? We can do the calculation somewhere very quickly. 16 times 5. 5 times 6 is 30. We have 1 carried there. 5 times 1 is 5. Plus 3, that is 8. So we've got our answer to be 80. So there are 80 students in total. So if there are 80 students in total, number of students is 80. Sorry, I wrote 18. So number of students is 80. The girls are what? 48. Then the boys will simply be... The boys will simply be what? The boys will simply be 80, take away 48. And that simply gives us what? 80 minus 48, that should be 32. And that's the number of boys in the school. Okay? And that's our answer. And that's our answer. And that's how to answer these question. So if you got any question, you can let me know in the comments section. Okay? So one shortcut that we can actually apply, apart from this method, there is another method that we can apply to solve questions like this. Okay? And that method is good, but I only like tell students that are very, very good with fractions. So if you can follow me, if you can follow through the second method, it's faster, and I think you should be able to use it very well in your exam. So what's the second method? They told us that 2/5 are girls, right? No, 2/5 are boys, rather. And they told us 3/5 are what? Girls. Okay? So, and we know there are 48 girls in the school. So to get the total number of people, so the total number of students in the school is just going to be the 48 girls times the reciprocal of what? The reciprocal of the number of girls in the school. We have 3/5. 3/5 of the girls in the school have a population of 48. If you now want to get a full population, just multiply that 48, the number of girls, by the reciprocal of the fraction of girls. And that will be what? 5/3. Right? So that becomes 48 times 5 divided by 3. And that's exactly what we have on this side of the solution. As you can see, 48 times 5/3. That's what we have here. Exactly what we got at this point. So, but some students prefer to go through the algebra way, which is what I've done here, while some students love to stick to fractions and make things very, very fast, which is what I'm doing here. Okay? So the same thing, 3 here, 1. 3 here is 1, and that is going to give you 16. And then 16 times 5 is 80. So that's the total number of students in the school, 80 students. Girls are 48, then boys will be 80 minus 48, which gives us 32 boys. And that is the answer to the second question. So now that we've completed this, it's now your turn. Are you ready? Okay, so this is your turn, and these are the questions for you. It's your turn now. Do the questions. You've got the Lagos BECE Maths question, fractions, decimals, and percentages, questions 1 to 5. 3 of the questions are multiple choice. 2 of the questions are written question. Make sure you be among the first 5 to type their answers in the comment section. If you do so, I will mark your work. And if you're not amongst the 5, still do it. Type your answer, and you just check the other answers that I've gone through and see the ones you got right and the one you got missing. I'd love to see your comment. And thank you for watching. I hope you've learned something useful today in this video. Watch out for the next one. Just go to the channel and look for the next one, which is going to be on other topics on this section, which is numbers and numeration. We're going to have directed numbers, we're going to have standard forms, and so many other topics that you're going to find very useful and helpful with your BECE preparations. Wish you excellence. This is Mr. Taufik once again, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.